Hey students, happy Wednesday. I hope you all are well. I'm curious, before we start today's lesson, we've been learning about nonfiction and reading some nonfiction pieces of text together, but I'm curious what you're reading outside of the classroom, the assigned reading that we have been doing. Mrs. Ash just started this book right here. It's called Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo. She is the author of Poet X. I book talked Poet X way earlier in the year, and I'm really enjoying this book. It is a novel that is written, it's written in verse, and it has two different characters. So it's told from two different perspectives. One character, Camino, she lives in New York City, and her family is from the Dominican Republic. And then the other character, her name is Yahaira. She lives in the Dominican Republic, and her dad travels back and forth to the United States all the time. But she's never been to the Dominican Republic, and she's never been to the United States. But they share, there's a surprise twist to the book that you get through about a third of the way. I'm about a third of the way when my little light bulb went on, and I was like, oh, I see what's happening here. But the story is really interesting. But what I really like about it, Mr. Ash and I have been taking a Spanish class together. Rosetta Stone is a company that puts together language classes, and they offer during this pandemic 3 months of their Spanish class for free. So Mr. Ash and I have been trying to take advantage of that. And in this story, there is a ton of Spanish. So I feel super proud of myself every time I come back across a line in Spanish and I don't have to look it up. I know what it means. So this is what I'm reading right now. I'm curious, what are you reading? Today, down below, I'll leave this open for you. If you could just add, what are you reading? I'm curious. Anything good out there that I haven't read yet that might be new to me? I always am up for new books. So I hope you're reading outside of just your assigned reading. For today's lesson, we are going to move on. I hope you enjoyed the podcasts that you listened to yesterday. A type of a way you can get information, read with your ears and comprehend with your ears. So yesterday was all about our ears and all about listening. Today we are going to talk about infographics, and I'm going to teach you a bit about infographics and why they're useful and what they look like. And infographics are all about your eyeballs. So this book you may have seen in our classroom library. It's called Listomania, and a world of fascinating facts in graphic detail. So information, graphic, pictures, infographics are pictures where you get lots of information. So this book right here is full of infographics, and you can see there's very little text on each page. It's all about the pictures and the images, the graphics that the authors include, and we get much of our information from the graphics. So let's take a look at infographics a little bit more closely. So what is an infographic? Let's get our presentation up and running here. What is an infographic? An infographic is a collection of imagery, charts, and minimal text that gives an easy to understand overview of a topic. So it's like takes one topic and gives an overview of it. It doesn't go into great detail, and there's a really small amount of text. This infographic should be somewhat familiar to you. When I book talked Elizabeth Acevedo's other book, The Poet X, we talked about this infographic, and we'll take a look at it more in depth in just a moment. Infographics use striking, engaging visuals to communicate information quickly and clearly. Although this is a really thick text book, there's not a lot of text on each page, so we could get a lot of information really quickly. And infographics are tools to educate and inform. So sometimes I need to give you information. I'm not going to have you read a whole novel about something, I just need to get you a snapshot of information. That's when we can use infographics. We can get that information really quickly, and you can still be educated and informed on a topic. So this is one of the infographics that we have looked at together. Where should I put myself? Up here. So Diversity in Children's Books 2018. You can see very little text right here. The text that often is used is bold. It's organized strategically on the page along with the graphics. So you can see our graphics here and the information, the data that this author, go back to that slide, collected is here. And we can get a lot of information really quickly. How many books in 2018 had lead American Indian or First Nations characters? Only 1%. We talked about that being a problem, and we're hoping that it changes over time. Let's take a look at another infographic today. Just as we read other types of nonfiction text, infographics, they have main ideas, they have supporting details. So if I take a look at this infographic here, the benefits of reading books, and I'm just going to read a few of the benefits here. It reduces stress and puts you in a better mood. Better writing skills. Those writers who read a lot definitely have better reading skills. Books are a window to the world. Books are good for your memory. Books increase your ability to empathize with others. Books provide knowledge and information. So what is the main idea of this infographic? That reading books has a lot of benefits. What are the supporting details? Well, sometimes an infographic, it's organized so clearly that all of these things are really easy to point out. The title is going to tell me the main idea. The supporting details are all of these details that the author included. What are the benefits of reading books? Great and free entertainment. That's a supporting detail. What are the benefits of reading books? It exercises your brain. That is a supporting detail. Can an infographic have a theme? Absolutely, 100% yes. I'm going to leave that question to you. What do you think the theme of this infographic is? Remember, a theme is the universal message that the author is trying to get across to his or her reader. And it doesn't apply just to the text that you're reading. It applies to the world in general, the whole universe. So that is another example of an infographic. Your reading today will be done with some infographics. If you have any, everything should look very familiar to you, but if you have any questions, please email me. Remember, we can set up a Google Meet anytime, just the two of us. And if you have any questions, we can quickly answer them. It doesn't have to be like a whole hour-long meeting. It might only take 5 minutes. Or there might be some things that are on your mind that are not really ELA related or school related, and you just need to get some things off your chest and talk. I am here for you. Let me know what you need from me. You can email me. So let's go back and take a look at our lesson for today. So read the information about infographics in the Google presentation. That's what we just went through, and there will also be a copy in your Google Classroom. Follow along with today's video lesson. That's what you're doing. In your Google Classroom, there's a wide variety of infographics to choose from. Choose one that looks interesting and read it closely. Remember, there's just short bits of text and lots of pictures. So in your Google Classroom, this is what it looks like. Here is an infographic about foods we eat in this country and foods they eat in other countries. Here is an infographic about education around the world. Here is an infographic about 30 myths that we still believe. I bet you some of the myths on this list you thought were true. Here's a Wayback Time Machine. Cell phone addiction. Mrs. Ash's phone is always right near me. I feel like I am addicted sometimes. Sometimes when it sends me my weekly screen time, I tell myself, put that phone away. So that one's all about cell phone addiction. And this one is an infographic about bullying. So what you'll do is you'll choose one that sounds interesting to you and then read it closely. Look at the information, the data. Think about the theme, think about the main ideas, think about the supporting details that the author includes and why he or she includes those details. And after you're finished reading the infographic, complete the infographic analysis form. And it should look very familiar to you because it is basically the same thing that we've been looking at with all the rest of the forms, the mediums that we have been looking at. So, what are some notable quotes or details from the infographic that you choose? What really stands out? You'll list them here. What surprised you, or what questions or comments do you have about the infographic? And you will list those in this column here. Then think about the central idea. Remember, that's also the same thing as the main idea of the infographic. Again, the title of the infographic should definitely give you a clue as to what the central idea is. What connections do you make between the infographic and your own life experiences? Does this infographic remind you of anything else you've read or seen? If so, how and why? So this you will have a copy of in your Google Classroom. You can just turn it in there. And again, if you have any questions, please email me. And then the last part, share what you learned with someone at home. Infographics are really, really interesting, and you can find some really interesting information. So just find something interesting and say, hey, Mom, Dad, hey, Grandma, Auntie, Dad, come take a look at this infographic. I bet you didn't know this, and share that information. Okay, I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, and I will talk to you tomorrow.